Good morning, class. I hope you've all been having a wonderful day. Before I tell you the title of my lesson, I'm going to actually have you guys figure it out. But don't worry, it's with a joke. Alright. You might think my joke is lame, but I like it. So, what do you call friends who love math? Just love math. What do you call them? No, but good guess, good guess. I hear some good guesses. Okay. They're called AlgeBros. Because they love algebra, the bros hanging out. We are AlgeBros today because we are going to work on some algebra. Just a little bit, just as you can see on the board, there's just a little bit of letters, so it's alright. It'll be fine. You'll figure it out. But we're gonna start off with something super simple. Can someone tell me what 6 plus 2 is? 8, good. Okay. What is the mathematical term? I just said term. What is the mathematical term for this number right here? When we are adding, we add a term and a term to get a sum. So in this expression, 6 is a term, 2 is a term, and 8 is the sum. All right? Someone tell me what 6 minus 2 is. 4. Good. In a subtraction problem, the 6 represents the minuend, the 2 is a subtrahend, and the 4 is the difference. 6 minus 2 is 4. The minuend minus the subtrahend equals the difference. Okay, our next question. What does this mean? If we have a 6 outside of parentheses and a 2 in the middle, what does that mean? That we're multiplying. Good. When we are multiplying, the 6 represents a factor, the 2 represents a factor, and we are finding the product. All right? 12 is the product. Factor times a factor equals a product. Our last one here, what does this backslash, this bar mean between the 6 and the 2? Division, yes. What are we dividing? Yes, we're dividing the 6 by 2. The 6 is the dividend, the 2 is the divisor, and the answer is the quotient. All right, I wrote this for you in a different way over here. Okay, everybody see this? 6 divided by 2. In this problem, the 6 is the dividend and the 2 is the divisor. The 3 up here, the answer is the quotient. Now, I'm going to hand out some worksheets and I'm going to have questions on there, problems for you to figure out or fill in. I'm going to expect you guys to learn these. So on your worksheet, you're going to have to fill in. Do you see a division problem? You're going to fill in dividend, divisor, quotient, okay? Now, if we're talking subtraction, I say subtract 2 from 6, right? How are we going to write that? If we started with 6 and we're subtracting 2, we're going to write it just how I wrote it up here, right? 6 minus 2. All right? Subtract 2 from 6. Now, let's add some letters, all right? If we're taking y away from 5, what's our first number? What are we starting with? What's our first letter or number? 5. Good. And we're taking how much away from 5? Y away from 5. Okay. In this expression, what is our mathematical term for 5? What is it representing? The minuend. What is the y representing? The subtrahend. Can we find a difference in this expression? No, because we don't know what y is, right? If I were to say subtract y from 5, how would we write this? The same way, right? Let's say I do take 5 away from y. Now how are we writing this expression? We're taking 5 away from y. Right. These are also going to be on your worksheet, so make sure you are looking at the whole question. We're taking 5 away from y. It doesn't say y minus 5. It doesn't say subtract 5 minus y. Take 5 away from y. All right. So then let's move on over here. Okay. Are we all figuring this stuff out? Does this make sense to everyone? Okay, good. You're going to need to know these, all right? Let's come over here. Now we're going to talk about expressions and how many parts are in an expression. If we look at this, it's an addition question. So we're taking a term plus a term, and a term is going to equal what? Term plus a term equals a sum. Good. This right here has 2 parts to it. We have a term plus a term, right? 2 parts. Okay, now let's look at this problem right here, this expression. We have a parentheses. What does parentheses mean? Yes, so we do inside the parentheses, whatever's inside of it, we do that first. Because if we come down here to this one, now we know that we have to add 6 and y before we can multiply 2, right? Last week we talked about the distributive property, so we know that we can multiply 2 times 6, 2 times y, but we know if we knew y like this one, we would add it first, then multiply. How many parts are in this? We can split this into 2 parts because the parentheses makes it 1 part. We have a product times a product. When we add these together, we're going to come up with a product, another number. So we're going to have 2 times 6 plus y. Here, we can make it 1 entity, or we can make it into 2 because we're adding 2 terms. Come down here, we see 1 term, right? 2y, or one part of an expression, 2y. But to make it easier for you guys to be able to split this up, what are we doing to 2 and y? We're multiplying 2 times y. So if I put parentheses around it, it's easier for you to see. We can make this a factor times a factor to make a product, right? 2 and y. We can split 2y into 2 parts. Since we're talking about multiplication with parentheses, what comes first in the parentheses or outside the parentheses, what do? Let's go back to our order of operation. Let's talk about that quick. We have please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, right? That's what we have here. P stands for what? Parentheses. E, exponent. M, multiplication. D, division. A, adding. S, subtracting. Good. So when we're here, what are we doing first? Multiplying, or doing what's inside the parentheses? Here's the P, here's the M. What comes first? Parentheses, good. We're adding the 6 plus y before we multiply the 2. Good. So let's come here, all right? We see this exponent up here, right? And we see that 2 and y are going to be multiplied, 2 and x are going to be multiplied. So what are we going to do first? Are we going to do the exponent first, or are we going to multiply 2 and x? What comes first, the exponent or multiplication? Exponent, right. So we're going to use our exponent first. We're going to square x before doing 2, before multiplying by 2. Let's go over to this expression. We have 2 plus x in parentheses, and the square and the 2, the exponent, outside. So can someone read to me this expression? How do we read this? If it was written in words, how would you read it? 2 plus x squared, okay? What's going to happen first? Are we going to square 2 and x? Are we going to square x? Or are we going to add 2 and x first? Let's look up here. Parentheses, then exponent. So we're going to add these terms together before we square it. So for example, if we had 2 plus 2 squared, we would add the 2 plus 2 first to get 4, then square to get 16, okay? Let's go down to our final term. We have 2 plus x squared. That's how we read that one, isn't it? So is it the same operation? Are we doing the same thing? No, The parentheses are missing. So what does that mean? How is that changing this equation, this expression? We're going to square the x first before we add the 2. Why is that? Exponents here, additions here. Exponent comes before addition. So we're going to do our exponent, then add. Whereas here we were adding first, but why was that? Because it was in the parentheses. Parentheses comes before exponent. So this all is on your worksheet. Let's review this really quick. See if you guys know. Okay, a term plus a term is a sum minuend minus subtrahend equals difference. A factor times a factor. Oh, I know you can do it. Product, good. Dividend divided by divisor. Quotient, good. I erased these. Hopefully you guys can remember them and write them down on your worksheets. If you do have questions, just raise your hand. I'll come over. Another thing is I made your worksheets kind of smaller so that you can get onto your laptops and do some of the math homework on there, some of the programs, so you can play some math games so you can have a little fun. But that's all I have for you for now. So get to work, AlgeBros.